All right, I'm going to attempt something that I think is necessary, and I'm noticing a lot of gaps for technical artists. And what that is we're going to look at tech art, but under the lens of learning C++ from scratch, as well as learning some basic math skills. So this first video is going to be really easy, just showing you how to make a class and what a variable is and how to test it in our log, our view. Um, let's start with just creating the project, like what I did for that. All right, I made a project called Test Game, and what it is I selected games here, then I selected third person, C++, and then I just added the starter content. Name it whatever you want. So I think, and then just go ahead and hit create. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this because I already have it open. And if you're just learning, this can be extremely frustrating because you're looking at all this resources and stuff. So do as many tutorials as you can, but try to stay within one project for a while until you get your feet wet inside of this. All right, so I'm going to right click in here. I'm going to create a new actor. I'm going to call it an actor. I'm going to hit next, and I'm just going to call this math actor. Now, what we're doing here, again, because it's a C++ file, we're just creating a actor class. And you can think of this as really any sort of asset you'd have in your scene. And it's like the base for pretty much the way you can do anything. What's nice is if you make a character class or some of these other ones, they have some pre-set up stuff for you. So the actor class is pretty clean. So I'm just going to hit create class here. And if there's anything that you want elaborated on or whatever, I can build those out in the next videos. So I'm going to pause it as this is generating. Now, what you'll notice is you have a header file and a CPP file. Now I want to keep these videos short, and I also want to keep them essentially short and then like little bits of information. So over time you'll build up on it. I want you to keep practicing on your own. So let's forget about the header file for a second, and we're just going to focus on working in the CPP file just to show you the strength behind this. Now, right off the bat, if you have no C++ experience, this can be a little daunting. And you also might be like, well, I have Visual Studio that open. I don't have Writer that open. Now, this is something that you pay extra for. I think it's phenomenal. It has it integrates nicely in Unreal, but you should be able to follow along with what I'm doing here inside of Unreal 5. Now, what's cool is they already comment a lot of this stuff for you. So for example, you can see it says called when the game starts or when it's spawned. So let's go ahead and just save this for a second. I'm going to minimize this. And let's just take a look at a couple things that I do. Now, right off the bat, you might not even see your math actor class in here. And you might be like, well, what's going on here? Or if you closed it and reopened it back to this video. And I had this problem too, and it was a little baffling for me coming from Unreal 4. So what I want you to do is you go to edit, and then you can see preferences here. And I just want you to type in force. And what you want to turn on is force compilation at startup. And what this will do is it'll recompile all those C++ scripts when you open it up. And once you have that checked on, go ahead and hit save all just to save everything. But you'll notice that your classes will appear. Another thing is if you did go ahead and you bought Writer, what you can do is back in here, just type the word code, and you can change your source code editor from Visual Studio. You can save a bunch to Writer. And like I said, I love it. I use that for most things. So just go ahead and do a search for it. If you're not sure, send me a message and I can show you where the link is, but you could probably find it. So once this is created, this math actor, as you know, these pop up, the header file and the CPP file. So let's just take a look at this one function here. And don't worry about this called every frame. Don't worry about this. We'll get into all that stuff in future videos. We want to keep these short. So I'm going to pause the video, and I'm just going to type out a couple variables that are going to live inside of here. And we're going to do a very basic addition function, and we're going to log it to our scene. All right, so we have a 32-bit integer. You could get rid of the 32 bits, and you can just leave it as an int. But if you're not familiar with what a variable is at all, it's really just a storage place. So like, for example, this A is currently storing 5, and we could always change this later. And this B is storing 3. Now, we created a word for a variable here instead of just a letter called sum, and that's equal to A plus B, which is 8. Now, I'm going to save this, but what I'd like to do is get this to print out to the screen inside of Unreal. So what I'm going to do is inside of this log area here. Now, if you're not seeing these at the bottom here, you can go up to Window, and then you can go to Load Layout, and you can go to Default Editor Layout, and that'll pop up. And then you can take your content drawer and you can dock. All right, it looks like we're back. It crashed on me. So anyway, Window, and then we're going to go to Load Layout, and we're going to Default Editor Layout, and then you can select your output log, and you can dock that in Layout. I'm going to click off of here. You can go to your content drawer, and you can dock that in Layout as well. Let's do this one more time. It looks like my press didn't work. So I have my output log and my content browser. So, and there's other options. If you're a little bit more comfortable with UE Classic, you can select this and it'll set up the UE4 Classic. Now I'm going to right click in here and I'm going to clear the log. And what I want to do is just print out the sum inside of there. So let's go back to Writer here. And below this, I'm going to type a very simple command. I'm going to pause it and just type that out. All right, so what this does is this logs whatever is located within this under these parameters to that log that we talked about, the output log that's inside of Unreal. The log temp here, which is a category used to filter out messages, right? So it's just saying that this is a temporary message that's being logged. Now, warning is a level. There's like error, warning, displayed, log verbose. And this is just the level in which it'll appear. So this will make it yellow, and this will display it as a warning. Now, text, this text function will print out this text here, and this %d is just a placeholder for whatever sum equals, which is 8. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Control S. Let's jump back into Unreal. And I'm going to click this little option at the bottom here. And you see it says Recompiles and Reload C++ code for game systems. So the other thing I need to do is actually drag this math actor in our scene. So let's go open up a log. Let's compile this. It should compile pretty quickly. It's not that heavy a code. All right, it's finished. Now when I press play, let's scroll up a little bit, and you can see that log temp, we have our warning here, and the sum equals 8. So you literally just created your own class and with your own C++ code and with some very basic math. And we're going to build up to vector math later, but just wanted to give you something to kind of work on and give you confidence.